Wow. Well, I am extremely privileged today to be joined by Nicholas Babin, who has been a guest on many podcast shows with me, and he is a key opinion leader. He's an expert in digital technology, digital transformation, and he's also an expert in AI, 5G, robotics, and he's also an EU digital ambassador. And Nicholas and I are going to talk about the AI arms race into 5G, and we're going to kind of dig into all of these interesting topics today. And you're going to learn a lot from this conversation. So thank you, Nicholas, for joining me again. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Nat. It's always been a pleasure.
Absolutely. So in terms of the AI arms race, right? I mean, we're in a quite a crazy place right now, and I know you've just been to Brussels to learn more about what's sort of happening right now. So what's kind of top of mind for you at the moment, Nicholas?
Well, the top of mind is basically how this new technology is helping humans get augmented. It's obvious. I hear a lot of people saying, well, this has caught us by surprise. ChatGPT, AI, suddenly everybody's talking about AI because ChatGPT 4 has just been launched. But what I keep reminding people is that, people like myself, like you, Nat, have been talking about it since 1996. At least I have. You were not born in 1996, but I was. and and it's an evolution. It's AI today is at a stage where it's starting to show a lot of more values to people than it has in the past, and people are reacting in a way that obviously nobody likes changes, and they think, wow, this is going to change my job, this is going to change my life, this is going to change the way I operate, the way I interact with people and everything. Yes, it's true, but it's again, we're on a journey, and I mentioned that many times with you before. We're on a journey, and this journey is never ending, and we're not at a revolution stage. I know Bill Gates mentioned a revolution with ChatGPT. To me, it's plainly an evolution. When you look at when we launched Aibo back in 1999, AI-based robot, Aibo could understand about 100 sentences, could recognize about 10 faces. There was no way of any GPT technology in terms of languages or anything, but it was the beginning. And now having a system that you can talk to and say, brainstorm on this subject. Can you please continue on your thoughts or whatever? It's just a natural evolution of all this. So that's really on my mind right now.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, I think there's a lot of panic at the moment. There's been a lot of panic since ChatGPT was launched, and then people are kind of understanding that the capabilities of it are far greater than they ever imagined. But you and
Yeah.
I have been talking about these kind of technologies since I've known you. We've been talking about these for I don't know. It must be 7, 8 years. It could be by now. I
Yes.
would I would think,
Yeah.
and I've been thinking about them probably for I don't know, maybe 10 years or 11 years, and it's actually quite bizarre that people they just blindly adapt their lives to fit this technology in, but actually there are massive risks, aren't there, involved? Certainly, I mean, I was doing a cybersecurity kind of interview a few days ago, and we talked about that. I mean, there are risks, aren't there, in terms of cybersecurity with this sort of new technology, aren't there, Nicholas?
No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, first, if you don't mind, I'll just like to define or say at least what AI arms race in the context of 5G. To me, that's the competition we find amongst countries, companies, organizations like EU Commission and others, and countries, governments, to develop and deploy advanced AI technologies, leveraging them, so the capabilities of the 5G network. And this is why today you have this, I wouldn't call it a panic, but this big interest from people around what's coming out, because all these technologies are coming closer to maturing. I wouldn't say they're mature yet, but 5G allows huge amount of data to be transferred, allows less uh, latency, and so all this coming together is a huge change in how everybody's been talking and how everybody's been working. So this is why. But you're right. Now we know what it is. Basically, this AI arms race with 5G in the context of 5G, we need to understand the risks. And one risk, obviously, that is out there is the cybersecurity risks. Uh, you could think that and rightfully so, that the AI arms race will increase cybersecurity risks. You're going to have countries that develop advanced AI-driven cyber warfare capabilities. The vulnerability, I'm going to say it, vulnerabilities. Sorry, that's the
Don't
French
worry,
accent kicking
it's no problem.
in in the 5G networks could also become key targets for cyber attacks. You need to ensure that security and resilience of these networks will be critical, because you will need to protect infrastructure, economies, national security. So yes, with new responsibilities, if I could say, comes um, new dangers. That danger might be a bit too strong,
Well,
but
but
risk.
it is a danger, isn't it? I mean, I think we're talking. I mean, my late mentor, Mike Briarcliffe, he was very against the Huawei situation, providing 5G uh, technologies to the UK, and Australia didn't allow that. I wouldn't work with them, and I think that you heard the other day about TikTok and how someone was fired from TikTok head office when they were actually checking out someone's TikTok account. There was a UK journalist that had a TikTok account for her cat, and in head office in China, they were messing around with her data, right? So it just shows you that if someone has an intent, that they can do it. But let's be real. You and I, we know a lot of cybersecurity experts, and let's face it, they can get into anything. It doesn't make any difference if
Yeah.
you've got a 5G with Huawei or a 5G with somebody else. They get into it anyway, right? Like, I mean, they can listen to
Well,
anybody on any device at any time. You know.
yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, another angle to this is the fact that AI and 5G become now totally intertwined. Uh, you ensure security and privacy becomes paramount, and therefore you're likely involved developing advanced AI systems that are going to detect and respond to threats in real time. So yes, there's an increase in cybersecurity risks, but also on the other hand, uh, privacy preserving AI technologies or techniques will need to be explored to address concerns surrounding data collection and usage in a 5G enabled AI ecosystem. So what I'm saying here is, yes, AI can be used against people and against all the privacy rules that we know. But on the other hand, you can also use AI to counterattack that phase. The issue we face is the fact that, for example, ChatGPT is based on open source, right? So it's open to everyone. We're at level 4 of ChatGPT, so we don't know what level 10 is going to be like, or level 20 or level 100. So if you have countries with different ethical values than what we have, and I won't name them. Woo. um, it then becomes a little bit easier for them to implement those open source tools such as ChatGPT, but there are others, OpenAI, the Bard one from Google and others, and they could implement them to initiate and develop programs that could be uh, hacking tools, right? So, for example, you could ask one of these tools. Today, it's not possible. It's getting there, but it's not possible. But you could say, write a program that could hack the CIA platform, whatever. I mean, it's just an example. So ChatGPT is not at that level yet, and other generative AI tools are not yet. But as it's an open system tool, you could think that it would somebody with the wrong ideas could use it against you. But again, in the same, you could also say, write a program that will protect me from any attacks coming from such and such countries, for example,
Of
because
course.
every single country in cybersecurity has a different way of approaching it and has a different way also of attack. So that's how you know if an attack comes from Russia, from North Korea, from other countries, because that's the way they write their programs. So you could use AI for your own benefit on this one.
Of course, of course. I've been giving a lot of thought to what has been happening, and when it comes to ChatGPT, that's actually a closed environment, right? Yes, it
Yeah,
learns from outside, but it's a closed environment, and then apps are built on top of it. But then Google recently said, well, actually, there's a Chat GPT style program, which is open source, which is, I think, the one that you're referring to.
yeah,
And what will happen is that will actually overtake ChatGPT and Microsoft. They don't know how quickly, but they believe it will. It was an internal document that was leaked from Google, and it will overtake uh, those particular programs at some point, purely because with millions of people, billions of people in the world, when
yeah,
people actually get involved and we all do things together, then that's when things really change, right? So,
yeah,
and I think that there are security risks, but like you say, you can use it to protect yourself and protect your
yeah,
network and your environment. But I believe this is what
mm,
ISPs should do. I think internet service providers should take far more
yeah,
responsibility on the traffic that goes on their network. I think that they should be the ones that are actually held responsible for these kind of cyber attacks, in my personal opinion. Um,
yeah.
so, so when it comes to 5G and AI, right? Like 5G is basically an enabler so that AI can actually function, right? Because
Yeah,
it needs to analyze a huge amount of data, doesn't it? So
yeah,
5G is a way of getting that data to and from people's homes and also to their
yeah,
mobile devices, right? So
absolutely.
so so how do you sort of see that benefiting like businesses?
Well, in a lot of areas, to be honest with you, and that this is why again it's happening now. All these bubbles around the subjects.
Hmm.
If we want to talk about enhanced connectivity and data transmission for companies, that's essential. AI-driven 5G technologies basically could significantly improve connectivity, reduce latency, and enable the transmission of massive amounts of data. And this is where also it's really important to understand. You'll have a development of advanced AI applications, and we see that on a daily basis now.
Hmm.
For example, autonomous vehicles, and if you want, we can talk about autonomous systems just after.
Hmm.
Smart cities. Smart cities is also something that's booming. You have many cities around the world. I remember working on them 4 or 5 years ago, and we had only Miami that was started to work, and now it's pretty much everywhere. We have small cities in France working on it. I know in the UK as well, small cities working on it. You have Internet of Things. Just as a reminder to everyone, 5G was built to promote Internet of Things because you have more connections with things than with people today in the world, and 5G was really built to favor the Internet of Things connection. So potentially, you can give an edge to all the countries or corporations or organizations that successfully will deploy those networks first, right? So this is one area in terms of connectivity, data transmission. I mentioned autonomous systems. As you know, we're developing more and more now autonomous vehicles that are capable of making decisions, performing tasks with minimal human intervention, right? Because
Hmm.
that's the nature of being autonomous. So self-driving cars, as I mentioned, they can leverage the 5G low latency and high bandwidth because you can send so much data, and you have reaction latency that is so short, less than a millisecond, that it's like pretty much real time. So they can communicate with other vehicles real time, which is essential. Imagine that you're going from one lane to the other, and the other car only know 2 minutes later, then it's too late. Uh, they can also improve the infrastructure and AI algorithms in the cloud who can enhance the navigation and the decision making capabilities. So, what people need to understand is that AI and 5G coming together is benefiting, is the power of AI, which the more AI, the more powerful AI becomes, is because the more it's fed with data. And so if you can manage all this data because you have more bandwidth and less latency, which is what 5G brings, you are optimizing the power of AI. And that's what we call with the, to me, that's how the arms race in the context of 5G is all about.
Wow. But also, I'd be right in saying that also opens up some sort of issues when it comes to a couple of things. I'll talk about the first one, like the digital
Yeah,
divide is
yeah,
just
you're right.
massive, right? And I talked about this. I'm going to be talking about this with Melissa Sassy fairly soon, as I've got an episode on that specifically coming out. And I think that the EU hopefully will are doing something about that, because I think there are 3.9 billion people on the planet that don't have access to the internet, or it might be
That's
3.7.
right.
But it's a lot of people. Like, I think is it 39% of the world don't have access to the internet? I think that's about right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
around 40%. Absolutely.
So
Yeah, yeah.
so so the question is, you know, we're creating a digital divide, but it's also going to be like a knowledge divide. It's going to be an AI divide, and it's going to be an opportunity divide, right? Because there are opportunities everywhere. Like, there are opportunities within, the gaming industry, within AI. Like, you can come up with an AI tool and make money. I mean, I'm not saying like you can do it like clicking your fingers, but you can make all sorts of different productivity improvements for your business, which actually, a business in your domain, if it doesn't have them, it's not going to be able to compete with you, right? And this is
That's great.
and this is a real worry for a lot of businesses, in my opinion. You know.
No, you're absolutely right. Digital divide and accessibility is an issue, and the fact that we know about it, the fact that organizations such as the US, UN, EU know about it, I think they can work on it. But to be honest with you, I mean, Elon Musk has done a fantastic job providing internet to Ukraine right now, providing internet to Africa with those balloons that he launches to, and that helps with the digital divide because the world is not equally divided. We all know that, and if on top of it you add the fact that you don't have access to knowledge, data, information, all these things, then you're going to create and enhance the digital divide between countries, regions, and those who don't have anything, right? So it's one point that definitely the issue we have today is that we're on a journey, right? We've started that journey a long time ago. But what I mean long time ago is like, from probably 2023 years ago when the Earth, or even before, because, looking back, you had horses to start mobility. From horses, we went into steam vehicles. From steam vehicles to electric vehicles, and the engine was first invented. Then electricity was invented, then telephone was invented. You know, could you today say, okay, I don't want AI, I don't want a mobile phone or smartphone, I don't want 5G? It would be impossible because this is the journey we're on, and you could not stop it. So, I'm a pragmatic guy. So today, this is the situation we're in. Let's understand the risks, let's understand the benefits, and make sure that at least we work on leveraging the benefits, so at least you reduce the risks. everybody knows, and I'm not being naive here, but everybody knows that there are huge risks with technologies. But the more the bad people progress, the more the good people progress as well. Like, what I want to say is that they come out with a hack or a virus. Very quickly later on, we have a counterattack for that.
Yeah,
Why? Because we use technology, and this goes back to my point earlier. Yes, they can use technology for the worst, and we can use technology for good.
exactly. I'm a big believer in tech for good, I really
Me
am.
too.
But I mean, the thing is that with all this edge computing, which we will dig into probably another time, actually, because it's still a big topic. I mean, so edge
Yeah.
computing, for people that don't know, is when the compute is being basically moved from away from the data center to more of a localized place, so that you can get a
Exactly.
maximum capability delivered to your device. Is that fair to say? Just a
Yeah,
brief.
it's basically closer to the network edge. So that enables faster response because it's closer, and reducing latency, and it's also better for the planet.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's exactly, and basically the shift that we see today towards edge computing. It gives more power to AI applications that require real-time analysis, as I mentioned before, with for example, the autonomous systems,
Hmm.
but also with industrial automation, robotics, augmented reality. Uh, and so basically, this arms race in the context of 5G would involve developing AI algorithms optimized for edge computing environments. And edge is really booming at the same time. So, it all makes sense, actually, because all these technologies are coming. They're not mature yet, but they're coming towards maturity at the same time. And this is where, suddenly it's like mind-boggling. Wow, I have AR, I have VR, I have AI coming, I have Chat GPT, I have Edge coming. It's for people who maybe don't understand the complexity of it all. Then I can understand that it's so overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, I feel a bit overwhelmed by the whole thing, to be honest. I think the past few weeks I've just immersed myself in this sort of space. I'm very concerned about disinformation. That's the biggest concern that I have. The speed of disinformation
Yeah,
is massive right now, and but I do think that with edge computing and with the AI systems that are actually being worked on and being used right now, it is possible to detect these fakes and actually alert people quickly. And I think social platforms need to alert people faster, and they need to actually be better. And this is what I worry about, to be honest, because I think that because triggering people to do certain things is actually much easier now than it's ever been. I mean, it's not perfect. I was just talking to someone that actually specializes in that field earlier today, and in terms of giving people what they actually want in terms of customer service
yeah,
and things like this, you can actually ask some questions and you can give people exactly what they want. So what that means is the understanding of people's minds and what triggers them is
yeah,
becoming so advanced now that actually the disruption within politics is what I'm really worried about. I'm worried
yeah.
about that, and I'm worried about violence. I'm worried about bullying and these sorts of things. And we could talk for ages about all of those subjects because they are terribly frightening, really. If you think about, you can cause riots just by posting one picture with a few select words and sharing it to people.
Yeah. The good news, if I can be positive about this, you're 100% right about everything you said. Just remember 2, 3 years ago, fake news coming from a politician in the US mainly,
Hmm.
where everybody believed him. Um, and now I find more and more that when you come out with an idea or say, "Oh, I've heard that," people say, "No, fake news."
True.
So we are more and more aware of this issue, and therefore I have the hope that it's going to die down. It will take a while, because you still have millions of people who still believe some of the fake news that are out there. But more and more, at least in the professional world, in the tech industry, it's really really hard now to say something that is not right. I had the example last week of somebody repeating something he'd heard, saying, "Oh, he comes from a big company in the US," and actually you just type it on Google and it comes out saying fake news. This was never said by that company.
Wow.
So it's starting to get. I mean, look at what Twitter has been doing. Anytime somebody on Twitter posts something political or about immigration or anything, you have a warning saying, please check your facts, because this might not be the truth. I'm rephrasing. It doesn't exactly say that, but you have that warning. So we can do it now. Technology allows us to check the facts and everything and make sure. But the one thing that I want to say that really bothers me the most is, like, using ChatGPT, for example, is you ask to brainstorm, to work on whatever, an article on something, and the tool will quote something or someone, or but will never give you the source, and that to me is an issue,
Yeah.
because you have no idea where it comes from. You have no idea if he has invented that. A very simple example. The other day, the company contacted me for a podcast, a big US company, and they asked me for a my bio, and they said we need it like now.
Hmm.
And I was in the middle of 10 other things like you and I do, and basically I typed on ChatGPT biography about Nicholas Babin. The first paragraph was absolutely spot on, and then he went on saying that I worked for Capgemini and very large companies that I never worked with. And then he said that I wrote like 20 books. Well, no, I wrote some, but no, not 20. And but one thing that I felt good about, but because it's me and I know about technology, but I felt good that, I felt comforted by the fact that I needed to be involved. So it was much faster for me to do that bio. I did a copy paste on the first paragraph. I did my bits
Hmm.
and I sent it. I gained probably, uh, 10, 15 minutes, which was great, because that's why I really need it. But if you're not careful and you don't pay attention to basically what ChatGPT will come out with, and you don't do your own research, this is where it's scary. Because so you have to remember, AI was based. I mean, back in 1996, when we started developing Aibo, we wanted AI to be human augmented tool. I see ChatGPT as a human augmented tool, and with human, again, human augmented tool, the subject is human, and that's what's very very important. A friend of mine who's a very good lawyer here in France has told me that the worst thing that in his job that he really hates doing is to write documents. He's a business law attorney, and so, for example, writing the statutes of company will take normally 2 to 3 days. He said he uses ChatGPT, which allows him to do it in 2 minutes, and then he spends about 2 or 3 hours to review what ChatGPT has come up with. Reviewing a document rather than creating it is already gaining a lot of time, but he's at the center of everything, and he can, so from 2 to 3 days, he does it in half a day now. This is where you need to make sure that at least, human is augmented, human stays at the center. If you don't do that, it's like at the beginning with Wikipedia. Remember when Wikipedia was launched and everybody wrote about it, and it became like a total craziness, and professors at universities were saying, "Ah, my students will not need me anymore." And after how many years, I don't know, I think it's more 10 years or 10, 15 years that Wikipedia has been out, there's been some structure put into it. Now, information that comes into Wikipedia has to be proved by community. It has to be based on an article that has come out. It has to be totally neutral. You cannot write about yourself on Wikipedia. It has to be
I
done
know,
by
Nicholas.
somebody else.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, but this is how it has improved.
Mhm.
And today we hear the same thing that we heard 15 years ago when Wikipedia was launched. ChatGPT, people are saying, "Wow, my students won't need me." Hang on, just take a deep
Take it
breath,
easy. Yeah.
and see how it works.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Nicholas. That's absolutely amazing, and I'm sure we can dig into what amazing things the EU Commission are doing next time we speak. Because I'm interested to find out what,
Anytime.
because it sounds like there's some very intelligent people on this panel or whatever that you're on, advising them, and and I think
They
it's
work
great.
on
I think it's great. You know.
Yeah, they work on so many subjects. It's really really impressive. Cybersecurity, digital services, AI Act. It's these people are smart.
Wow. Well, thank you. I can't thank you
You're very
enough,
welcome.
and thanks everyone.
Thanks very much for listening to Influential Visions. Please make sure you share this episode with your friends and business connections. Thanks.